All right, so these are my thoughts on Mark Scheifele getting a 4-game suspension. So I posted my original video. I hope everyone was able to watch that video. And it was more of just like instant reaction based on what I had seen, based on what had transpired. Obviously, I was live streaming, so completely watching live, just based on what I'm seeing live. Watched it back only 1 or 2 more times. Most of my opinions stay the same. The only thing that changes was, well, 2 things changed. One, the leaving the feet, I watched it back from a couple different angles. It seems like, yeah, most of the momentum coming in, that's where the feet leave the ice. So that doesn't come into play because momentum driven, it doesn't come into play. If he had jumped before the hit, then that's different. I do stand by completely what I said about playing the puck. You can talk about whatever you want, and I'll agree. I think Evans should have been more aware. Evans should have had his head up. Jake Evans should have been more aware, but that does not excuse Scheifele's decision there. I think 2 aspects there. He had no regard for the player's safety, and besides just slowing down because he was basically framing himself for the hit, because it just doesn't make like it, you're basically putting yourself at risk for an injury if you're just going boom, 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 boom right into a hit. So he obviously had to slow down a little bit to frame up. But if he had just kept skating hard consistently, he actually could have poked and gotten to the puck in time. You watch it back, he slowed up a little bit. So the big problem for me was obviously that it's kind of categorizing it as charging, and then on top of that, just the nature of the hit. So 4 games, here's the thing. I'll say this. When I saw that it was an over the phone, like an over the phone hearing and not a Zoom, technically in person, then I knew obviously it couldn't be more than 5 games. And for me, 4 games based on that is, I guess, is kind of like a positive. I don't know. To me, it's a confusing one because personally, I thought he should have been done for the series just based on, I mean, the Habs, obviously, like this is going to be kind of Tom Wilson-esque, right? If Scheifele, if it goes to Game 6 and Mark Scheifele returns, it's going to be a mess. Like everyone's going to have their eyes on that game. It's going to be somewhat a mess. Someone's going to have to, I don't know, he's going to have to answer to it, like whether it's a fight or something. And I'm just speaking the facts. I'm not saying I agree with anything. I'm just saying that that's what's going to happen. So I'm not pissed at this suspension, more because I had already had the understanding of, okay, it's not going to be more than 5 games. And I was kind of thinking, okay, maybe they only give him 1 or 2 games, which to me would have been a slap in the face. So I was expecting 4 or 5 games after the news came out. It would not be in-person or /Zoom hearing. So, yeah, as I said, looking back at the hit, I think it was a really unneeded hit, unnecessary. I think it was a dirty hit. I think if you just straight out say it was clean, then you need to go check out the rule book, because even at the very least, if you want to look at charging, I don't know how charging, like a slash to the hands, is that categorized as clean? I don't think so, right? It's not. It's against the rules. That's why we have penalties. If you want to go to the extent of saying this should have been a low suspension or non-suspendable at all, I mean, I respectfully disagree with you. So my overall thoughts, just to sum it up, I think based on it being over the phone hearing, I was wanting at least 4 or 5 games. They gave 4. I think the answer to it for charging, like they categorized this as a charging, right? So they didn't categorize the head contact. They didn't categorize that in this. They looked specifically at the charging and then kind of the nature of the charging and the nature of the aggression. Scheifele, as I said, was emotional for most of that game. You saw him in a couple scrums, and then obviously that at the end, and then he was just obviously in shock. So wasn't using the brain piece. Like at the end of the day, could have made the play for the puck, and I firmly believe that. If he kept going at full speed, he actually could have got there in time for the puck. But again, I'll make it very clear. While people are putting blame on Jake Evans, I think Jake Evans, yes, should have been more aware. He should have had his head up. Watching it back, seeing that he was completely focused. At the time, it's hard to say. Hindsight's 2020. So if we're talking about, Scheifele, how was he supposed to make that decision last second? I mean, we could say the same thing for Jake Evans. But yes, Jake Evans should have had his head up. But that doesn't excuse Scheifele's decision to make that hit, especially from end to end. It should have been a play for the puck. And at the end of the day, yeah, if Evans has his head down, if you want to try for a clean hit, that's up to the player. But at full speed like that, didn't make enough of an attempt to do otherwise. So 4 games, I think with the Department of Player Safety, we've seen bigger jokes this year. So I'm not going to be really pissed at this one. I think for me, I was saying I expected the rest of the series just based on the nature of the hit and the circumstance. So 4 games for me, Game 1 was already played. He could return Game 6 if it gets there. So thank you guys for listening. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like, leave a comment with your thoughts. And I'm live streaming right now, so this will be posted as a video. So thank you. Mark Scheifele suspended for 4 games for charging.